So I'd like to call on Diggin, as she will be presenting to all of you our findings of the National Assembly observation that we did yesterday. Ms. Diggin, you're welcome. Thank you very much.
For the 2020 National Assembly elections. For immediate release. 2022 National Assembly elections preliminary statement. The Elections Watch Committee is a partnership of 3 different organizations with different expertise and backgrounds: Peace Ambassadors de Gambia, Activista de Gambia, and the National Youth Parliament de Gambia, collaborating to observe the electoral process in the Gambia. EWC's observation of the 2022 Assembly elections built on EWC's observation of the 2021 presidential election processes, such as voter registration, the display of provisional list of voters, the candidate nomination, the campaign period, and the 2021 presidential election day. The EWC have observed the pre-election period, which include candidate nomination and campaign, as well as 9th April election day process at polling streams within all constituencies in the Gambia. Introduction. This preliminary statement is based on reports that the Elections Watch Committee has received from 300 stationary observers deployed to polling streams proportionally nationwide by the end of the day on 9th April 2022. The statement also covers reports received from coalition centers, observers deployed at constituency and regional coalition centers. On the 9th April, the EWC deployed 410 trained and accredited election day observers. This includes 300 stationary observers, 50 mobile observers, 53 constituency supervisors, and 7 regional coordinators. The 300 polling stream observers have been systematically deployed based on a proportional distribution by constituency. This means that the proportion of Election Watch stationary observers closely match the overall proportion of IEC polling streams in each constituency and administrative area. This proportional deployment enables the EWC to comment on the process nationally, drawing on data points from every constituency across the country. Appendix A provides a breakdown of the distribution of observed polling streams by administrative area. The EWC further deploys observers to the IEC coalition centers to observe this process. EWC have observed all key aspects of the electoral process, beginning from political party candidate nomination and the campaign period. At each stage of the observation, the EWC released its findings about the respective process and issue recommendations to election stakeholders. On the 17th March 2022, the EWC released its update on candidate nomination process. On the 17th March 2022, EWC released its update on the candidate nomination process. On the 28th March and 8th April, the EWC released its update on findings on campaign period, reflecting on the observation by the 53 constituency and 7 regional observers. Overall, observers reported that the campaign period was peaceful and political parties and candidates mobilized across the country with no restriction, and civic and voter education efforts ramped up as the period progressed. However, the EWC also noted violations of the campaign code of ethics, including the use of government resources such as government vehicles and vote buying. Use of state resources and vote buying increase an unlevel playing field between candidates and dilute the premise that political campaigns should be contested based on candidates' programs. On election day, the EWC released a midday update on the setup and opening process. EWC observers noted that polling stations mostly opened on time, had all essential materials, and party agents as well as security forces were present. However, EWC noted a relatively high number of polling streams not accessible to people with disability, as well as the elderly. In three instances, political parties' agents demanded the count of ballot tokens before voting began. This preliminary statement focuses on voting, closing, and counting processes. It also reflects reports from EWC's observers deployed to observe the collation process conducted at collation centers located in each region. EWC observers will continue to observe in the post-electoral period. Key findings. Based on reports from the Elections Watch observers deployed on polling streams in all 53 constituencies, Gambians peacefully participate in National Assembly elections and face few challenges in casting their votes. The IEC polling officials generally follow procedures during the voting, closing, and counting process. Party agents were present in all polling streams observed by EWC observers and did not object to the count in nearly all observed locations. However, COVID-19 protocols were largely not followed by IEC officials and voters. On the voting process, Election Watch observers monitor the entire election day process at their assigned polling streams, starting from setup, voting, and continue throughout closing and counting process. They reported in near real time using unique observation checklists and quoted messages to a central database at the EWC's National Information Center. Within their polling streams, Election Watch observers witnessed IEC staff generally follow voting procedures. Election Watch observers in nearly all polling streams reported that pregnant women, physically challenged, and elderly voters were given priority to vote and were assessed from someone of their choice when requested. Election Watch observers reported that the IEC polling officials generally followed procedures. In nearly all polling stations observed, voters were asked to present their voter's card before being allowed to vote. The finger of every voter was marked with indelible ink, and every voter received only one token in all polling streams observed, consistent with the electoral law. In nearly all polling streams observed, voters were able to cast their vote in secret. Adherence to the COVID-19 protocol, to the COVID-19 safety protocols. EWC reported low level of messaging and adherence to the COVID-19 health and safety protocols during the campaign period, as well as on election day. EWC observed that all eligible voters were allowed to vote as mandated by the IEC, regardless to the COVID-19 safety protocol. For the 9th April elections, EWC observers noted inconsistent adherence to the COVID-19 safety protocols. 49th of Election Watch observers noted that IEC officials wear face masks throughout the day. Observers reported that all voters wore a face mask in only 2% of observed polling streams. In 24% of streams, none of the voters wore face masks. In addition, only 24% of polling streams observed by Election Watch observers have sufficient social distancing throughout the day. Closing and counting process. 99% of polling stations observed closed on time, and in all polling streams observed voters still in the queue at 5 p.m. were able to cast their vote. In most polling streams observed by the EWC, IEC officials generally followed closing and counting procedures. In 99% of polling streams observed, the presiding officer sealed the entry to the ballot drums at the end of the voting. Election Watch observers noted that the presiding officer counted unused ballot tokens and returned the tokens to the SAC in 95% of polling streams observed. After the completion of counting, the presiding officer in 99% of the polling streams returned the ballot tokens to their respective box and affixed the seals. In 99% of polling streams observed, all sensitive materials such as the close of poll report and counting form were sealed in an envelope and signed by the presiding officer and party agents present. In all of the polling streams observed, Election Watch reported that the presiding officer pasted a copy of the count form on the wall of the polling stream. Party agents. Party agents vigilantly monitor the entire process, including setup, voting, closing, and counting. All observed polling stream has at least one party agent during the voting, closing, and counting process. In particular, party agents from GTC, NPP, UDP, PDYS, and independent candidates were present throughout the day at most polling streams observed by the EWC. Party agents levied an objection to the close of poll report in only 1% of observed polling stream, and to the count form in only one observed polling stream. This demonstrates the party agents did not challenge the counting process in nearly all polling streams observed. Party agents continue to be present at the coalition centers as well. Critical incidents. During the voting, closing, and counting process, the election watch observers reported some incidents that occur at their assigned stream. No incidents were serious or severely disrupt the electoral process. As noted in the EWC midday statement, election watch observers reported 4 incidents related to disagreement between party agents and polling officials over the counting of ballot tokens, which delayed the start of voting, as well as were 6 reports of campaigning by political parties or candidates. In one polling station in Banjul North, the observer witnessed an argument between party supporters and later between 2 candidates that resulted in the police being called to disperse the crowd. In another notable incident, an observer heard of an incident in Kerawan where UDP supporters were arrested for preventing eligible voters from voting. Collation process. EWC deployed its observers to all 7 regional collation centers to observe the collation process at the constituency level and receive reports from 52 of 53 constituencies. All EWC observers and party agents were permitted to access and observe the collation centers. In 8 constituencies, observers noted that there were discrepancies identified in the polling station count forms that were corrected during the collation process. The collation process was not postponed or interrupted at any time in any collation center observed by the EWC, and all polling station results were included in the collation result at all centers observed. While party agents were present at nearly all collation centers, the collated result form was not signed by all party agents present in 5 cases, and a copy not given to all present party agents in 19 out of 52 constituencies. Preliminary recommendations. To political parties and candidates. Utilize the prescribed legal process to pursue any complaint or grievances. For future elections, ensure that party agents are trained on electoral procedures and understand their role in observing the voting and the counting process. To the IEC, publicly provide polling stream level result in a machine-readable format in a timely manner as a measure of transparency. This includes the results from presidential elections which have still not been published on the IEC's website. Clarify and communicate collation procedures and locations in more timely manner to ensure observers are able to fulfill their role in observing the process. Reconsider the process for allowing those on official duty to vote during National Assembly elections. This includes security officers, polling officers assigned to polling stations assignment, as well as observers, the media and party agents participating in the election process. And so all polling locations are accessible to all voters, particularly to the elderly and persons with disability. In addition, take additional measures to ensure the process make accessible, such as reading materials for the hearing impaired and listing the candidates' names in Braille on ballot drums. To the media, continue to demonstrate professionalism in its reportage and ensure citizens continue to receive accurate information about the election process. to the security forces, continue to demonstrate neutrality and professionalism in dealing with election-related matters. The Election Watch Committee will subsequently release a comprehensive observation report that will capture recommendations for future electoral processes. About the Elections Watch Committee. The Elections Watch Committee is a partnership of 3 organizations and other network members with different expertise and background, collaborating to observe elections in the Gambia. The Elections Watch Committee includes Peace Ambassadors de Gambia, Activists de Gambia, and the National Youth Parliament. This committee is a decision-making body on all matters related to the 2022 National Assembly Elections Watch Project. PAG serves as the secretariat of the committee. The Elections Watch Project is being financed with assistance from the National Endowment for Democracy and technical support from the National Democratic Institute for International Affairs. Thank you very much.